I think we should be looking at our technology, not what can it do for me, but what should it do for me.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so
That's key.
it can do a lot,
Yeah.
but what should it do for me that I need to help make my life better?
Tech-driven personal growth. I'm actually really, really excited to be talking about this with you guys. You guys specifically, Dean, you've spent many, many years teaching in ministry and coaching as well. Mm-hmm. Tim, you've done the same. You two are, I would say, one of the most personable people on our team, both of you. And people trust you easily because you care so well for people. And I think what's so unique about technology and personal growth is that technology has become so integrated with our everyday lives. And so I'm just excited to have you here. I'm excited to be able to get your thoughts and expertise in how tech can really impact your life from a day-to-day perspective. So first question that I just want to start out with is, have you guys ever taken a moment to sit back and think about what would my life be like, or how different would my life be like without X technology?
Almost constantly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I don't know about constantly, but often, yeah. It would be with the day timer.
Okay.
And, and my pen on my shirt. Even one of my kids, when they were growing up, they were like, "Dad, I want to be a pastor someday. Look," and they stuck a pen on their shirt. I'm like,
That's all it takes.
buddy, if that's all it took. But yeah, I mean, it involved a lot of paper and a lot of writing, and I had the calendar, and I had a notepad, and I had all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I interrupt? I just want to interrupt 1 second. So I've known you for almost 15 years now. It's been a while.
More than that, like 20.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, 15, 20 years. Anyway.
So I've always remembered you with that pen. You always had a pen
Yeah.
in your shirt. And it wasn't like it was like in a pocket. It was always like
No, it was in here.
diagonal
Or
in
up
your
there.
shirt.
Yeah, it was never in a pocket because that's old people.
Yeah, totally.
That was my excuse.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
It was like putting on a tie.
No, because I hate ties. I don't ever wear
But you had
tie.
to put your pen in.
But yeah, I had to put my pen in.
Yeah. So in Dean, where is your pen?
It's gone. I have a phone.
Yeah.
My phone does all of it. At one point I had my day timer with the calendar, and then they merged the two with the notepad too at the same time in the same binder, and then PDA, personal PDA, right? The PDA came out, and I'm like, oh, I have a Palm Pilot, I think it was.
Yeah.
That I could go around and take attendance and do the things I needed to do digitally. I had no way to get it from there other than writing it in my day timer. Yep. But I had it.
You had it.
And I didn't have to carry the notebook, and that was like
Unless the battery was dead.
sweet. Unless the battery was dead.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So then I had another issue.
Yep.
So it completely has changed my world.
Okay.
Technology on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about it constantly. I think I like comfort, and so having the ability to have things easily is important to me. I don't know if that's a weird way to say that, but I was talking to my wife the other day. My wife grew up a Mennonite, and she we just had this crazy heat wave. She was like, "Could you imagine being Amish right now?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's like my worst fear all the time." But then she was like,
Of being Amish.
Of being Amish,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And she was like, I was like, "Why specifically now are you asking that?" She was like, "Well, they don't have AC." And it was like, I think I knew that, but like I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's like 70 degrees in my house, and it's so hot out.
Yeah.
And it's like so like all of the time I'm thinking about, oh, this would be so much more inconvenient if I didn't have, and I'm probably too plugged in, to be honest with you. It's like,
Yeah, sure.
well, which iPad do I want to use for this? It's like that's maybe a little bit of a problem, but it's changed everything I do. From I every year write a note to my girls on their birthday that I'll give them to them when they're older.
Aww.
And I do that electronically. And so throughout the year, if there's things that I want to mention or things that they did, I create a note on that. And then when their birthday is coming up, I draft the thing and I have it for them for when they're older. And it's like those types of things I don't think I would do if it wasn't so easy to do, because it's just there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
a great idea.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I like that idea too. Yeah. Ryan, what
Dad
about
of the
you,
year.
man?
Can I first share my similar writing the email on your
Yeah.
birthday to your kids? I got a domain related to my last name, set up email addresses for my kids, but they don't have access to it.
Sure.
So I email them all the time throughout the week,
That's
the
a
month.
great idea too.
For the last several years. And then when I don't know when age is like, hey, have an email address. I mean, they're going to need one for school, but when I give them the family email address,
Sure.
they're going to just go and see all these old
That's
emails
awesome.
and pictures and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a similar thing. And all that to say, like, you know, I grew up in the 90s, like, as the internet was being introduced, we got it early on. Since then, I've hit the peak of tech heaviness where my mantra was, I just want my life to be easier, so I'm going to automate and buy anything that's an app-related, automatic, whatever, lights, cameras, all the things.
Sure.
Phones, things that are ridiculous. Man, that just blows you out. I'm so sick of technology in that aspect. I've pared it down to like a phone, and I shed tech at home because it's too much. It is too much.
You guys,
I'm tired of it sometimes.
I love that we're automatically going to this because you had said, hey, sometimes I'm too plugged in, right? And then you're like, oh man, you're talking about all the convenience of technology, and then you're like, but I'm so sick of it. So the question that I have is, when do you know that technology is being helpful, and when do you know if it's being harmful?
So for me, so I was at one point an Android guy, and now I'm full Apple guy. You can judge me in the comments.
No.
But
welcome.
Okay, that's
fine. With open arms.
My brother-in-law uses iPhones have this focus modes where you can silence certain things and do all of that, and he lives his whole life on focus mode. And so because he's like, oh, there's too many alerts and too many this and that, and it was a couple of years ago I decided I don't want my phone to dictate what I'm seeing. I want to dictate what I'm seeing my phone. So I don't want the phone to use me. I want to use the phone. And so what I did is I turned off notifications for absolutely everything. And then as I found out, it would be nice to see this during the day.
Oh man.
I turned on that thing.
Okay.
And then as more time went along, it would be nice to see this out throughout the day. So instead of turning all notifications on all the time, so it's blowing up and notifications mean nothing, I turned them all off and figured out what I wanted it to tell me rather than it telling me everything.
That's a great idea.
It is.
That is such a good idea.
And so now it's like I just felt my watch buzz, but I know that's probably somebody in my family or a Red Sox score. One of the two.
The two most important
things.
I mean, and Teams notifications.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
I've taken down notifications for just about everything to the point where I really don't need a smartphone anymore.
Yeah.
Like I needed to text and call,
Right.
but that's all. Like I have my laptop with me all the time, so I can check emails there. Like I don't use my phone for that. But the convenience factor when I need to send an email quick to someone. It's right on my phone, and I can just do that. So it's going to be hard to rip that away. But notifications, you're right, that's the pain point for me.
And that was it, is turning them all off, and you feel like you're in a bit of a desert wasteland, and then turning them on based on what it needs, and then being able to, with Apple, this isn't an Apple commercial whatsoever, but being able to say during this time and this time, these are okay.
Yeah.
Or I change my watch face when I'm not at working hours, because when I'm at working hours, it has my calendar on it. So I can see what's coming next. When it hits 5 o'clock, it shifts to my personal watch face so that I can see other things that I need to see and I don't have to worry about work. And so it's those types of things that help me use the technology rather than it just blasting all the time.
Yeah.
Which I think is a key. Using the technology, because technology can just take over. We get in this mode, and it takes away from family time. It could even take away from work time. From a work perspective, there are times where I think you could spend the 30 minutes doing that one thing to try to get the technology to help you do it, or you could have taken the 3 minutes it would have taken to just do it, because it's a one-time thing. So, if you pair that back to the personal family, personal time, personal calendar, and any of that. We get away from hobbies because of technology. We don't interact with people because of technology. We gravitate and look forward to the technology more than interacting with human beings.
Yeah.
And I mean, and again, I'm old enough to know And it happened with TV years ago where, you know, my grandparents were like, you're going to grow up and not have any friends because you're always in front of TV Saturday morning. But that's the only time the cartoons are on.
Yeah.
And you know, this prediction of you're going to be this failure living in their basement, only just watching TV.
Yeah.
Had they only known what was coming to distract me and everyone else,
Yeah.
it would have been a whole different
I would
conversation.
take a Saturday morning TV over distractions.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
sure.
Because it's constant.
Right.
And we allow it to be constant. And I think that's the thing. We need to kind of take our lives back, take our time back and say, I'm going to be in charge of what I go after or what I want to know or hear or see or be reminded of.
Yeah.
And then when we do that, we can leverage technology to help us focus with reminders at the right time in the right place and things like that.
Yeah, and I think you need to think about the investment time too, and that's what you're talking
Sure.
about, the 30
Yeah.
minutes for the 3 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if I'm doing this 3-minute thing every day, then the 30 minutes
Yeah.
is worth it.
Yep.
Let me do that. But if it's
Yeah.
like I do it once a year and I'm going to,
Right.
maybe then it doesn't make
Yeah,
all that
yeah,
much
yeah.
sense. I mean, and that's sometimes hard for me to even self-edit because I like the technology side.
Yeah.
Well, it can
Right.
do that?
Same.
All right,
Right.
let me see what it can do.
Yeah.
As my 2 girls are crying in the backyard, or
Right.
the background, because I'm trying to figure this thing out.
Yeah.
It's like figuring out, okay, when is it appropriate to do?
Sure.
What do you think are indicators? So I want to hear from all of us. What are indicators when technology actually is becoming harmful rather than helpful in your life?
When you're at a family gathering and one of your kids says something and you're like, oh, wait, look at that up. And then the joke becomes over the years with family gatherings like, okay, Dad, you don't have to look everything up we say.
Yeah.
It's getting harder and harder to lie about facts.
Yeah, that's right. I think I need to put the phone away.
Yeah,
when
yeah.
the joke is you go to your phone instead of engaging in the conversation. That's a problem.
You should start have a encyclopedia set you keep with you, and you only can go to encyclopedia.
Wait, I got to run to my library.
Yeah, in the trunk.
Back Pocketpedia.
Yeah,
There
Reference
you go.
notes for your back pocket.
That's
Yeah.
a good name.
my mind immediately goes to my wife. My wife is the indicator if I'm on it too much.
That's a
It's
good
like
one.
she can tell whether it's the girls aren't getting the attention they should, or and that's a conversation we have with each other often. Is like, hey, it feels like you're checked out. Can you clue back in, or something along those lines? Because it's easy for me to get sucked in looking at. I mean, I'm very, very guilty of it. I'm not trying to hide that whatsoever. It's like, because it's something I enjoy so much, always looking at the latest and greatest thing and all of those things. But that's an indicator for me. And then the other thing is when I start to forget what I was going to look up.
Ooh.
It's
Yeah.
like, I was going to look up something, but I don't remember. It's like, I probably, I could probably be done.
Yeah.
It's like I forgot what I was going to do in front of me.
Yeah.
Don't do that to me. Don't do that to
Come
me.
on, because I'm there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those are the two for me.
Okay.
I feel like for a period of time, I had really bad phantom phone ringing in my pocket syndrome. You know, you always thought it was buzzing. You always felt it. Like,
Wasn't there like a medical term for that?
yeah. I feel like there was because I remember
Somebody look
reading
it up.
articles.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, right.
I think it's called phantom buzzing.
Okay.
It could phantom notifications.
Yeah, phantom
I feel like phantoms in there, but I legit would feel my phone go off. I'm like, oh, I got to go get my phone, but I'm in the middle of something. So 30 seconds later, I go look at it. Absolutely nothing. There was times where it happened 5 or 6 times a day for weeks. I mean, now I can't even remember the last time I felt that.
Sure.
But along the same lines, that was always one. But what you were just saying, if it's before like bedtime for the kids during the weekday, and we're all at home, and I'm not talking to anybody, but I'm on my phone on the couch. Like, I think my wife made one comment one time, and I've remembered it. I'm like, yeah, what are you doing, man? Like, do you really need to be sitting here, like, do not work, not anything productive, scrolling Reddit, looking up shoes on Amazon, like dumb stuff. It's like, get that. Go see what your kids doing. They're just hanging out. Go talk to them instead. But I feel like she said it one time, and I noticed every time I did it. I was like, So now I just try to push it back as late as possible to do that, like after they go to bed or whatever.
Yeah.
It's hard. And, Saturdays, if you're like stuck because it's 95 degrees out inside all day, you only do so much stuff. You're like, oh my gosh, get me away from these kids.
Yep.
Reddit. What's going on Reddit?
Right.
Thank the Lord for our wives.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And our spouses. Like we are like we need that in our lives. But for me, the indicator is always my kids. It's like if I'm the type of person the main emotion that I feel often is anger. Like, it's a problem. I know it is. But like, if my kids are coming up to me and I'm feeling frustrated, but my face is in my phone, there's a problem. Like, that's the problem.
Yeah.
And so I was actually talking to Corey Caldwell, a friend of ours, and he was like, dude, did you know that you can turn your iPhone into a dumb phone? Just with like screen time and all the regulations and stuff like that.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do that. I tried that for a day, and like, you can just go turn it off. And I'm like, no, it can't be the settings that I'm like relying on. It has to be my own self-control.
Yeah.
And choosing relationship and what's truly successful in my life rather than the actual, like, the technology itself. So for me, the indicator is this piece of technology creating success for me in my relationships or in business or in how I'm being more efficient or whatever, right? And so even, like, I love how you talked about the time investment within technology. You're like, man, it might take you 30 minutes to set this piece of technology up for the 3 minutes that it's going to save you of time. But the question that I have is it going to save you 3 minutes every day?
Yeah.
Because that's worth the investment.
That's absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But if it's like, oh goodness, I just want to know this thing, can
Right.
it wait till later? Like, it's not a bad thing to want to know the thing.
Sure.
But is it creating success for me in my relationships and my job and that kind of stuff? And for me, often, like, there are times where I will be like, what am I doing? Like, why are my kids second to my phone? But anyway, all that to say, obviously technology can have its downfalls. I really want to talk about the personal growth that you can see and the benefit that you can see. So I read probably 20 different stories of, like, technology success in the personal growth side, right? And so just a couple of examples. One, overcoming disability with AI. A man who lost his ability to speak due to ALS regained voice through AI-powered speechless synthesis. There are people on Instagram. There's a guy specifically on Instagram who can't speak at all verbally, but he has, like, this program on an iPad that's connected to his hospital bed or wheelchair or whatever, and he can literally speak with it. You're like, oh my goodness. Could you imagine in the 80s or 90s, like, people being like, oh my, like, this guy has a robot voice and he wasn't able to speak and now he can. Or there's people like the Priestes. Do you remember the Priestes? And their son was able to utilize an iPad to be able to speak, and he hadn't spoken in 19 or 20 years or something like that. Like, that type of technology is life-changing. That type of technology is creating success for the family, right?
They also have a leg up on us because they can have any voice they want.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like, that would be
There
cool.
you go.
Creating your own voice.
I want a Spider-Man voice.
Oh, I was thinking Batman.
Yeah, Batman. Yeah.
You got it. Which version? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The growly one.
The growly one.
Thinking about, like, remote learning has opened up opportunity for people in other countries to be able to get higher education and to be able to get better jobs and all that kind of stuff. Even people that are, maybe more like urban areas rather than suburban areas that are able to get educated as well. Another one, just the accessibility of technology. So there was one specifically, this story was talking about a visually impaired student using Microsoft's Seeing AI app to navigate daily life more independently. So she has the ability now to be able to utilize technology so that her life is easier, to be able to see things. Like, that stuff is the stuff that I really want to park on, with the caveat of, hey, like, be careful, because technology is fantastic, but don't let it run your life.
Yeah, it makes me think about what I was going to say right before you went into that, is, like, I think the things that make me successful at work are sometimes the things that trip me up in my personal life.
Yeah, totally.
And when I'm at
Very
home.
well said.
Because
Yeah.
it's like, I can multitask and do 8 different things at work because I've got 3 different monitors and I'm doing 3 different things and I'm waiting on this and I'm using this, whether it's something ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot or something like that is running, and so I don't have to think about that. That's going to run and do its thing and give me an output, and I'll take that and do what I need to do. And then it's hard for me to shut that off when I go home when I want to do 13 things, and 3 of those are the 3 women that live in my house. You know what I mean? It's where it's like, you're good. You play with that toy. Kate, how was your day? And it's like all of those things where it's like, no, I need to slow down and make sure that I'm giving attention to those. So I'm so multitasky at work, I try to do that at home, and I can't always do that.
Yeah. And there are studies on multitasking that show that you can't. Like multitasking is actually impossible, right?
Well, you haven't seen me work.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, you can't do it, but you're not giving your best to the
For
full
sure.
the full task at hand. But I'm totally with you on that. Something that a question that I wanted to park on, because I'm actually really interested both in your personal experience, but also in what you've seen. Dean, you're constantly in contact with our clients, specifically on the modern work and learning side. Tim, you're constantly in contact with other employees and our clients when you're onboarding, all that stuff. How has technology specifically given us a leg up to be able to reach our own personal and professional goals?
From a professional standpoint, I think there's apps that let me just merge them all together, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, you have people who are journalers. You talked about writing a letter, right? And emails, setting goals. Sometimes people are writing a journal type thing to set their life goals or their life story or what they'd like to accomplish over the next 3, 5, 10 years and beyond. Some of us don't think that far ahead like me. Each day is one at a time. And so I become calendar driven to reach goals more than vision driven. It's really weird sitting here with 3 creative guys and being the only non-creative, administrative, make it work analytical person, because I'm really out of place here. But it's just a different way of thinking and accomplishing the same thing. So you dreamers are going to dream, and I'm going to be the one to come in and say, well, I can make that dream happen. Well, how can I do that? Whether it's at work or at home. So what is my dream at home? Whatever my wife dreams, because she's the dreamer. Well, tell me what your dreams are and let me figure out how to help make that work. Yeah. My dream is your dream kind of thing. She's like, don't you ever dream? No.
So how many years of marriage does that take before you get to merge that together?
Right? Yeah. So 35 now.
What if you're both just dreamers and
no, I am not a dreamer.
I'm just saying.
Not.
No, I'm just saying. What if a couple are both dreamers and there's or the opposite?
Marriage counseling, maybe.
Yeah. There it is. That's a different podcast.
So from a personal standpoint, I think you need to dial in what tools are going to be helpful and not take away the time that could. Not take away your personal time, right? What apps are going to help me realize the way I function and what I want to accomplish from a family perspective, from a personal perspective, from, in my case, a lot of people in West Michigan, a relationship with God perspective. How am I going to utilize technology to organize those things or help me realize those? Maybe it's just as simple as reminders. Technology has changed my world for learning to pray for my kids that I always forgot. Like, I haven't prayed for my kids again. I haven't prayed. Well, every night at 9:00, there's a reminder that pops up. And I did 9:00 because usually I'm at a place where that reminder will bother me enough. And if I've prayed for my kids that day, great. If not, the reminder helps organize my world and realize those goals. Yeah. So reminders is a simple way versus tracking everything from fitness to health and everything. Like, we can utilize technology in a way for all those things from a personal perspective. Sure. I forgot what the question was.
Yeah. How does that help us achieve goals, basically? But
to me, it goes to my mind immediately goes to collaboration. Okay. It's like the ability to, and not just from we're a Microsoft shop, but not even just that, but the way that you can have notes that you can share on. We just went on vacation with my extended family, and instead of, will you email me that photo? We just created a giant shared photo album, and everybody dumped them there, and you go there.
That is such a great idea, by the way.
It's way better. Instead of
we do it all the time.
Instead of take a picture of my phone, and then my phone, and then my phone, and then take it on one, and we'll just share it. We'll just be done with it. Yeah. But it's like little things like that make life so much easier. My wife and I share a calendar of what does this week look like. We talk about it the beginning of every week, but it's like, this is what this means, that's what that means, are you okay with this, this is what this, and so it's like, it's one of those things where, and if we haven't talked about it, we see it on the calendar, we're like, hey, what is this? Oh, that's what we're doing? Okay, sounds good. And so it's like little things like that could fall through the cracks or could make things harder on a relationship or a work relationship or whatever that looks like. The ability to have these tools, because of it maybe in your planner 20 years ago, but it's not my planner
That's
20
right.
years ago.
That's right.
And so it's like just the visibility to see some of those things, as stupid as ordering groceries from Meijer.
Yeah.
Hey, we just ran out of ranch. I'm going to put it on my list. And the next time we do it,
Right.
it's already there. We don't have to think about it.
Yeah. And then it's in your pocket.
And then
it's
it's in
not
your
like,
pocket.
oh, I
Yep.
forgot the list on the fridge. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah,
you've
yeah.
just got it.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you guys
Yeah.
do password sharing with your family?
We do.
With the Apple app?
We
the
do.
Password app?
So we use a different one. We use Bitwarden.
Okay, and that's something, I don't know if we use, I know technology providers a lot of times will use Bitwarden software for different things, and I think that was one of it. But yeah, I've always used something myself, but recently just sharing it through
Yep.
the family with my wife.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, the Apple produced the family password app that just
Yep.
came out in the last year or so. But so yeah, it's basically like streaming services. Make sure we know we're
Right.
changing the password or
Yep.
we update it. We know when it's got to log back in. Like, oh, it makes sense.
But yeah, my wife and I share. We've got different accounts, but we share them with each other.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, this banking account, or those types of things, just to have them all, and so they're not in some notebook somewhere where
Yep.
we change it and we
Yeah.
don't know, and like all of those things. It just makes life easier.
I find myself helping her more because I have access to some accounts that mainly she would pay attention to that I wouldn't even, I would have to ask the password. But I'm like, oh, I have access to it and I'm thinking about it and I know something, like I'm going to proactively help her out and like do this thing because I know it needs to be done.
Yeah.
I got the login info. Hey, honey, I just scheduled or I changed our garbage collection date of the week for whatever reason.
I was wondering when you were
One
gonna
less
do
thing
that.
you got to. Yeah, I'm just making something. But like because we had shared technology to
Yeah.
allow me to do that, I was more likely to do it.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
never have done it if I didn't have that available.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love everything you guys have said. I want to talk about for a second the AI side of things, right? So AI is in the last, I would say the last couple years it's been blowing
Sexy
up.
word.
I know it really is sexy. and then I would say from like you've just seen it since ChatGPT, like the release of ChatGPT, like just this snowball of, oh my goodness, now look what AI can do. Now look remember when AI first started developing pictures of humans and they couldn't do hands?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
like
10 fingers.
on one hand.
It's gotten so weird where it's like, this AI is now in your vacuum cleaner. It's like,
Yeah.
what is happening? What is happening?
Like, do I need AI
Yeah,
for my
I need it to
vacuum?
like create a floor for me to
Yeah.
vacuum. I don't know what that means.
Well, now to the point where I'm seeing on Instagram, there is like, it looks like a news reporter, like legitimate news reporter.
it's not real.
And then all of a sudden they're like, and this isn't real. And then this like spaceship comes out of the water
Yep.
and you're like, what the heck? This is crazy.
Yep.
So anyway, all that to say though, I think, especially as it pertains to business and in your job and all that stuff, we are AI happy and we're happy to try anything and everything AI to create more efficiencies and do all that we can. Let's talk about that from a personal side. What is it that AI can do for us on the personal level to create success for our, I would say, relationships, efficiencies in life? What is it that we can do that would really, I would say, help us on?
I have a
personal
really
development?
stupid example.
I want to hear it.
This past week, I'm in chapter 10, in case you're wondering. But this past week, there was this book that I don't think I finished it. And I remember it really capturing me, but I didn't remember the name of it whatsoever. I remembered 3 obscure details.
Okay.
The details were the person lived in a coffin, or a coffin like, it was really small. It didn't take place on Earth, and what was the third one? Oh, they had to have an oxygen to go outside.
Wait, so this is the book you're reading?
So this was the book that I started, liked it, but never finished.
Didn't finish it. Okay.
And couldn't
Forgot
remember.
about it.
Couldn't
Yeah.
remember the name of it.
Okay.
And so I was like, I have for the past, I would guess 3 or 4 years, I've been like, what is that book?
Oh,
and
no.
I'd Google search and like, no, that's not it. No, that's not it. That's not it. I actually got on Reddit the other day and was like, there's a r/what book is this?
Yeah.
So I put it in there, didn't wait for anybody, and I was like, I'm going to throw it in Copilot and see what it does. So I put it in there, immediately came up.
Booyah.
With those 3 details.
Isn't that cool?
Artemis by Andy Weir, in case you're wondering.
Artemis, that
Okay.
was the book.
So,
Nice.
Okay.
Chapter 10.
But chapter 10.
He was on chapter 10.
That was the audiobook as I was driving in this morning. So simple things like that, I use it for, the ridiculous things. My wife does bookkeeping and taxes, and she has to send letters out all the time. She'll just say, hey, draft me something that looks like this, and then we'll put in the data and put it in there. We had a dog sitter the other day. I was like, hey, give me an example of what notes you should leave for a dog sitter. And it wrote everything out, and I just filled in the correct information. It was done. I didn't have to think about it, didn't have to do it. It was all just there. And it's just easier than, okay, I'm going to sit down and think about what should she need to know? Well, no, it can scour the internet and figure out what most people do, and I'll just fill in what's there.
Sure.
Yeah.
It just makes it so much easier.
And it's
Yeah.
thinking of things that you're not necessarily going to be thinking
Like,
of.
I wouldn't necessarily think of, our dogs aren't needy dogs, and so I
Yeah.
didn't think about, what's their vet?
Right.
I guess they probably should know that.
Yeah, just in
I
case.
would think.
Fair.
She has our phone number, so she could call me, but it's probably better that she just has it, just in case.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
So it's like things like that.
You're opening my eyes and ears a little bit more, because I will be completely candid, and I don't jump at using AI in my personal life hardly ever. I shy away from it. I actually shy away from it ultimately.
Tell me why.
I think it's because the easiest ways to use it for what I do for work is around communication somehow. That's a lot of what it is.
So like drafting emails for or something like
Any
that.
verbiage of
points,
any kind.
yeah,
And
okay.
I'm just like, I don't want, like, I see and hear AI related, whether it's words on a page or a picture or a video. And I'm just like, I know this is AI. Like everybody else is like, everybody knows this is AI. You can see it. I don't want to be that guy. It's like, oh, he's using AI, even though everybody is, and you can use it and fine tune it to make it make sense. I just haven't hit that hump where it's like, I've embraced it. I'm slowly using it for things, but it's always testing it out. I never really, like lately, it's if I do need a paragraph or a page written and I try to use Copilot, I make sure it doesn't sound like it's AI. Like I write my own stuff in there, which is fine, but I ultimately spent the same amount of time for what I wrote myself. But I think that's more my personal preference in like allowing myself to understand it and work with it more. So I'm just slower to jump at it.
I think that's I had an epiphany the other day where it's called Copilot, and maybe it was something your team said. Is like, it's not the pilot, it's Copilot. It sounds so cheesy, and I hate that I just said that. But
How have I not heard of that one?
I didn't have to say it. He did.
But
It's Copilot,
you
not
still
pilot.
you still have to fly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just helping you.
That's exactly what I
And
have
so
to
it's like,
think of.
and so it's like you don't just put this text in here and just whatever it gives you, don't even bother read it and slap it in there. No, you still have to craft. You still have to have the human side of it. You've still got to massage it here, massage it there to make sure it's the right tone and it's the right information and all of those stuff. So you've still got to be the pilot. I absolutely hate that I'm going into the pilot thing, but
No, that's fine.
you still have to be the pilot. It's the co-pilot.
Yeah.
It's taking you 80% of the
Yeah.
place. You got to go the extra 20.
Yeah.
It's building the bridge between work and home is the creative piece of it.
Yep.
where
Yep.
We have we do a second grade class, my wife and I, and the curriculum the 1 week said come up with a craft or a story or a game or something, and we were like, it's just like Saturday night. Like, really?
Yeah.
Because every other Saturday night, it's there for you.
Yeah.
But this one is come up with one.
It was
So-
probably Saturday night for the people who
when
wrote
I
the
looked at it,
curriculum.
my wife was days
Oh, okay.
ahead of me
Yeah,
already,
okay.
right? So I was like, well, let's see what Copilot can come up with. So
That's a
plugged
great
it in.
use.
I put the passage in from the
Heck
Bible,
yeah.
and I was like, second grade class, we need to fill 15 to 20 minutes. What can I do from a game or activity perspective?
Yeah.
And it literally listed out 3 games, and then it said, would you like to do a craft too? Sure.
You got
And,
it.
you know, and
That's
and
great.
the danger was I began to keep going, and she's like, no, stop.
Yeah.
We got what
an
we need.
answer.
We're good. But we tweaked it. But for a non-creative person, it helps me with the creativity.
Yeah.
Even on a personal level. So for that, but also one of our sons is getting duplexes and fixing them up, and we do all this handy type stuff together. Hey, this is what I'm doing. What are the steps? So you can watch a YouTube, right? Or I can just plug it into Copilot and say, this is what's happening with the refrigerator. These are the symptoms. What are the steps for me to troubleshoot? Boom, boom, boom. Copied it last night and sent it to him.
Yeah, we have not done this, but I know you can. is put in the ingredients that you have in
Yes.
your pantry.
Yeah. What can I
You
make
can
for
say,
dinner?
hey,
meals to make.
This is what I
Yes.
have. What do I make?
Yes.
And it's
You guys-
it will put together exactly
that
what you can make
sounds
with
awesome.
what
And you can
have.
tweak it. No
Hopefully you
gluten
can
free.
take a
Blah,
picture
blah, blah.
and even
Yeah, that's
speed
right.
it up
Yeah,
a little
that's
more.
right,
Here's a
that's right.
picture of everything in my food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd
Three
be nice.
pictures.
That'd be nice.
Okay, so I think there's a lot of like conveniences that we've talked
Sure.
about on the AI level. Let's talk about like mental health if we can. Now, obviously, I'm not a proponent of use Copilot or AI as your counselor, right?
You're
Like,
right.
That doesn't make sense. But
What
what
people have tried that.
Yeah,
already.
they absolutely
absolutely
have.
have tried.
Yeah,
It doesn't
and-
work that well.
He's like, it doesn't work that well.
I asked Copilot to give me Riz, and it didn't give me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's not try.
Okay.
Yeah. No. The thing that I really want to think about just on the mental health side is what is that convenience doing for us, or what have you, I guess, seen in your experience that AI is doing to promote mental health?
Just general mental health, right?
Yeah.
Not a diagnosed mental health necessarily.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
you
no.
already
What
mentioned,
is
you already
AI
mentioned those.
Yeah.
It's like, you might have ADD. And it's like, yeah, I know. Based on the questions you're asking me.
Right.
Can you
So let
repeat
me-
that question?
Yeah,
That's-
yeah.
I'm trying to soak
Maybe
this in.
rephrase
This
it.
I'll
is a
give
good
you-
question. I'm trying to soak it.
I'll give you some thought process
Okay.
that because I've had some time to think about this a little bit. So there are some things that I think can speak into like depression, anxiety, that kind of stuff that AI can help with.
Okay.
So I think a lot of people can struggle with, I feel really overwhelmed, which is another word for anxiety, right? I feel really overwhelmed or anxious about this task that's coming up. So people that struggle with ADHD or ADD,
Sure.
this might be something that they struggle with oftentimes. Dean, you parked on this for a second. You said, I'm not a creative person, and so I utilize Copilot to help me be creative.
Sure.
And then I use my administration skills to be able to utilize that creativity.
Which reduces my stress.
Which reduces your stress.
Yeah.
Isn't that nuts? And
Yeah.
so even on the anxiety side, like, so for creatives, right, if you're not super strong in being administrative, you're going to have this grand idea and you're going to say Copilot or ChatGPT or whatever AI.
How do I make it happen? Yeah.
I have this idea, blah, 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 blah. Give me ideas or thoughts as where do I start? How do I get this going? What's the team look like?
Yep.
And it reduces the amount of whether it's procrastination or anxiousness, or I don't even know how to share this idea at times because there are people that have tremendous ideas in their heads, but they can't
Sure.
get it out.
Yeah.
And that AI tool can be such a significant help, in my opinion, to facilitate success for people that maybe don't know how to, because they're too anxious or because they're, and really that anxiety can lead to depression, right? And so for me, as I think about it, I'm like, man, there is a certain amount of freedom that comes with, I don't have to be an administrative like a guru if I'm a creative, because I have something that can help me with the administration. Won't make me perfect, but it'll give me a starting point,
Sure.
right? So
Well, on the flip side, there's people that talk too much and don't think enough, but they can leverage the ideas of that they would talk
yeah,
and have Copilot or another AI leverage. Where do you go with that?
Yeah.
Think through it with me. You said something weeks ago. I don't even know what setting it was, but you said something about you not debate. You do something with Copilot where you're kind of having it play the devil's advocate. When
Yeah.
I'm
So I
thinking
role play.
through role play. That's
Yeah.
the word.
Yep.
Yeah. So you role play. That sparked a whole new avenue for me of ideas of how to leverage Copilot.
yeah,
Do you
and
tell
it's
Copilot
any
you're
AI.
good about to role play?
So here's here's
Okay.
a scenario. I need you to
you give it a scenario. Yeah.
respond as if you're sitting with me and I'm saying X, Y, Z.
The prompts are
what
the
would
scenario.
you What would you say to me? And then you respond, and you can go back and forth. But also having an idea and then asking AI, what questions do I need to ask to make this a realization, or to make this happen? Or I have an idea. What do I need to ask to be creatively able to implement?
yeah, yep,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about this in my day to day. What I do a lot of RMM with our tools that we do at work. But day zero patches are a thing that we experience more often than not, and I'm so worried about getting the patching right to make sure our machines are protected that the secondary thing on my mind, once I get that figured out, is the communication to our clients.
Right.
And I like our clients a lot.
Yeah.
But communicating with them can be stressful.
Yeah.
And so, because it's, however many people need to be communicated with. And so it has, since Copilot has come out, it's so much easier because I can put in a link of everything, why we're patching, what we're doing to patch it. It doesn't have to be clean. It doesn't have to be, the English doesn't have to be right. All of those things, and say, write me something that it summarizes this, and it does, and it doesn't get it right. I have to pilot it. So then I have to go in and change this thing, or it's too formal, and I say, sound more casual. That's not me.
Sure. Yeah.
Sound even more casual. Okay, that's too casual. Those types of things. And that has taken a huge load off of me because I want to communicate succinctly, but I don't want to give no information.
Yeah.
And so it's like, how do I find this middle ground? Instead of writing 8 drafts, I can work with it real time and then put that out.
Yeah. Even taking sections.
Yep.
I find myself writing an email and then taking this paragraph and saying, I didn't know how to say this, but just revise this one.
Yeah.
And so I had a story from last week. I met with a kinesiologist, chiropractor, and we were talking about AI. And he's like, what I want to be able to do, he wanted to understand Copilot in particular. He said, what I want to be able to do is I have 5 follow-up emails I want to do for a patient that's needing to know tips about eating healthier. And I want to be able to send these out in an interval of however many weeks in between, but I don't even know where to start with them. But I know the concepts that I want to get across.
Yeah.
So we walked through how to plug those into an AI, Copilot in particular, like I said, to get those emails. Then he can schedule, and he's going to actually automate the schedule of them. So when the patient comes, it triggers at a certain time using their system to be able. But the creation of it, I just can't get beyond how to really say it in a way that someone would understand it.
Yeah,
that's non-technical.
And I think that's it. It's a jumping off spot.
Yeah.
So you're not starting from zero.
Yeah. And
so
you can come to it from any angle.
Thing.
Yep.
How do I get someplace where I can interact with it instead of just starting from zero?
No matter where you start.
I think I personally, I think I'd rather start from zero, and it's harder for me to finalize the end piece before it gets sent out, shipped out, email sent or whatever.
Well, you've already said you don't use AI. So
I don't. So you guys are giving me some encouraging things to think about it a little bit differently, which is that's good. So
I want to come back to that mental health thing though for a second, because I do think the things that we're highlighting here, in my opinion, and I experienced this several years ago, is like personal burnout and fatigue, to the point where it was like really hard for me to drag my butt out of bed and like go to work. And I don't mean that as like, man, I'm a victim of burnout. Like, I'm not. I was a victim of anxiety, and that was my own problem. I had to deal with that. But the reality of it is that it led to physical ailments, and I was constantly stressed. And like, not saying that if Copilot was around that I wouldn't have experienced that, right?
Sure.
I absolutely would have. But I can think of so many things now where I would be feeling stressed and feeling like things would be piling up, where I'd be like, oh goodness, like I can utilize Copilot and have, it's something that would have taken me 2 hours to like create and morph and form. It's going to take me 15 minutes, right? And to take that list and at least have some ideas to where then I can start to manipulate and grow that and bring it into something that's going to work for me, right?
Sure.
Whether that's on a personal level or a business level as well. And so something I loved what you had talked about, because I did want to talk about like this idea of role play with Copilot. What's so interesting, and I did this with both you and Dean, so Tim and Dean. I actually described your personalities and who you were.
Oh, geez.
And I was like,
awesome. For this.
and I said, this is the person. This is Dean. He's from the East Coast, loves like this type of food. He's this type of person, highly administrative. He's a bit more blunt than most, like worked through it all.
That's true.
And then,
I got to own it.
no.
I never thought of that one.
Oh, that's
I just haven't been in the right setting.
Fair enough.
And then for me, it brings the anxiety out of, and I don't have a tremendous amount of of anxiety coming to a person with a confrontation or whatever, but I wanted to test it to see can Copilot role play with me like Dean, like I would almost be talking to Dean.
Ooh,
and it was
interesting.
really, really good.
Really?
The same thing. I was like, this is who Tim is. He's super socially aware. He wears his heart on his sleeve. Like everybody trusts him and really likes him. And like, then I was like, okay, now
Let's argue.
yeah, now I'm going to confront this guy on being late for work or something like that. And it was like, it had you nailed down to a T. And so I was just thinking like, how can we utilize this in a way that would help people personally? So, like they know they have a hard conversation coming up, or they know that they just want to go in and have a conversation, but it not be super confrontational. So you can prompt Copilot and say, hey, they call like Big Tony is what they called you, like Copilot. Big Tony
I've been
is
called
like,
worse.
hey, no. And so the reality of it is, it's like, hey, this is if Big Tony wouldn't really respond, if Tim wouldn't really respond, you would say something like, Big Tony would probably have that like toned down, and then it totally like modifies and then changes the way that conversation goes.
Yeah, you're using it in a way more advanced way.
Wait,
than I
that
am.
is awesome.
I am absolutely going to steal that at our next
I do it,
Copilot
please.
webinar.
Dude, I have a
and
presentation
and
tomorrow on
workshop.
Copilot.
Yeah.
That example is going in there.
Because we've talked to people about when you're help it draft an email that's difficult to tell someone we're not going to accept them for the job. You know, they've been declined for XYZ role, but make it soft and
Compassionate.
and that kind of thing. So we've
Empathetic.
talked about including the emotional or the tone that you want, and that helps to generate that. I've never thought about role playing and plugging in a personality of the people you're managing, right? And I mean, and you took the heartless person and the super hearted person.
You're not
Put them
heartless.
on the same podcast.
No, you're not heartless.
I came out looking
wanted-
good there, so I'm
Yeah,
okay.
you did,
Go
yeah.
ahead, continue.
You guys have very different personalities, so I thought it interesting
Yeah.
to go both ways and just
Sure.
see. And it was so good at it. And so what that I think can do from a mental health perspective,
Yeah.
especially people that have social anxieties or whatever, is say, hey, role play this in a safe way where they can at least have a mindset of, okay, the conversation could go really well, and give them the confidence to
Sure.
say, okay, great.
Yeah.
Or, hey, you know what? Dean's going to be a little bit more unreasonable.
Yeah.
No, you know what? I'm just kidding.
I mean,
But
it does
seriously, you can
take
do
the
that.
level of anxiety down going
Yeah.
in, especially as a manager, supervisor,
Yeah.
you name it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, and that's
Totally.
helpful for in this scenario, the manager, but it's also
Yeah.
really caring for the person
It is.
you're talking
Yeah.
to.
Oh,
It
it's,
is.
yeah.
Yep.
And to be able to go in prepared, knowing, hey, this might not be easiest to do,
Yeah.
but to be able to care for them well so that you can communicate this potentially hard news in a way that is thoughtful, and you can role play so
Yeah.
you can see a bunch of different ways and be like, ooh, I probably should have said that different.
See,
Yeah.
and
So
there it
now I
was.
can.
Yeah.
I do wanna-
It's super loving and caring to boy, that's great time saving for the manager to be prepared.
Yeah, that's right.
There's the different personalities,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That it probably prepared you for.
Yeah.
So
I do want to bring some clarity, Dean, because I don't want you to come off like you're rude. Dean is not rude. He's
No.
actually one of the most caring guys I know.
Absolutely.
But the thing is Dean will always say the hard thing, and I think that's what I appreciate
Yeah.
about you the most.
Where
And
I
that's-
don't say the hard thing ever.
Totally. Yeah, totally. And
we
that's
need to
why
hang out more.
Yeah, it's not the
We need to hang
untrue
out more.
thing. You're just matter of fact in the way that you say things.
That's what
Totally.
we do
Yeah.
in the Northeast.
Yeah,
you
got
just,
it. Yeah.
you just you get what
East
you
Coast
get.
thing.
Yep.
You
Yep.
get what you
Totally.
get.
Yep.
That's it.
Dang.
So
You're never surprised. Like you don't go away
Yeah, you
saying,
don't wonder what he's
"What do they
thinking."
really think about me?" Because they just told you.
totally. Yeah. Yep. Which is actually so refreshing. It is.
For
Yeah,
sure.
because most people around here don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Midwest nice,
I
right?
mean,
Isn't that
West
what it's
Michigan,
called?
not like inside.
Midwest
around
nice.
here. It sounds
Inside's
terrible.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I have so many more questions, but we have limited time. I would like for Dean and Tim, I'd love for you to give us something for free, okay? And what I'm looking for is advice for people that are like, I know I have all this technology. People like Ryan, and I would admit me as well. There are times where I feel like even AI or even like hey, goodness, I know that there's a ton of things like a shared album. I've never utilized a shared album before. And to be honest with you, looking into it feels like work, right? So to a certain extent, I'd love to hear your advice for people that are like, I know I have all of this at my fingertips if I want it. Where do I start? Like, where do I start to see more efficiencies in my life, or to see technology improving my life rather than pulling away from my life, right? What would you tell me if I was asking you that question?
I mean, I might have a different thought in a few minutes, but the first thing that popped in my head was when at the times when you're feeling overwhelmed or you don't know what to cook, right? Or how to start an email or talk to a family member, the times that you feel overwhelmed or stressed, to ask yourself, can AI help me to just get some ideas to bring the stress level down, or to bring the chaos that's in my head down, to take care of all those details, at least organize those details, or give me ideas for those details. That's the first thing that came to my head. It may be different 3 minutes from now, and I'll talk then.
Yeah, that sounds great. That sounds great. Okay.
I think you have to identify the problem first.
Yeah.
I think you need to, because it would be very, very easy, and I've been guilty of it, of just jumping to the next thing.
Yeah.
Oh, this thing's really cool. Everybody's talking about this. I'm going to go there or here or there, or, but identifying if you're feeling uneasy or feeling stressed or feeling like you're missing the boat, or there's an easier way to do this, identifying what the problem is and then addressing that problem with some sort of technology. We've already kind of talked about it, but with the phone issue, I got so frustrated with it that my phone was going off all the time. Mm-hmm. Identified the problem was I'm getting blown up. And like even more than that, it feels like my technology is using me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Same. That's how I felt.
Mm.
And so how do I use it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm going to determine. It's not going to determine what comes to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to choose that.
For sure.
And so you're able to identify the problem, then come to a solution. Okay, now how do I let technology serve me? Instead of going to a new iPhone and being like, sweet, I can get notifications on everything. I need to know when my Clash of Clans is free, or
I
whatever.
need to know when the planet dips 1/2 degree.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I
need
wonder
to know
if it's a waxing gibbous tonight. It's like I don't care.
Did you make that up?
Yeah,
Is
I did.
that
No, that is the moon phase. But
I don't know. I have to look it up.
No, it
later.
is.
It sounded really good.
Yeah. But it's like I need it to serve me. I don't want to serve it.
Yeah.
And so figuring out in a way that, and I think that can be for focus times in Microsoft with like choosing, hey, don't give me any email alerts during this time.
Yeah.
That can be a focus time on your phone. That can be putting your phone down when you get home. That's the problem. I just need to get rid of it.
Yeah.
It's to me, before you jump to a technology and figure out what it can do, first figure out what the problem is and then address it with technology.
And I think the hardest people that deal with it, some of the people that have the hardest time dealing with that are those that work in tech.
Yeah.
Sure.
I feel like I'm sure there
agreed.
are other jobs that kind of fall suit, but you work in tech, like you need to know this stuff and use it at your job so you can either explain it, sell it, or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Well, and
it's so ingrained in you.
The convenience of it now
Yeah.
makes a difference.
Right.
20 years ago, it wasn't as convenient as grabbing your phone for any technology to do at home. And other times, you had the computer that was the desktop. Maybe that was 25 years ago. I don't know. That you weren't bringing home. So you had to do it. So you'd stay late at work, but that was a little bit more physical. Like, are you coming home? Like, I need to go.
Separation.
Now there's not as much separation.
Yeah.
So there has to be a lot more self-discipline to separate those two.
Yeah.
I
then
would
throwing in working from home into the mix.
right.
It's like,
Right. Where is that separation?
Where's the line now? Right.
Yeah.
Touché.
I would say also, it's not AI specific, but I said reminders earlier. Getting things into technology that I don't have to keep in my head. I told my coworker Ben weeks ago that my personal hard drive in my head is full, and so I need to use technology to help me. So I often will just literally dictate, make a note, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Make a note. Remind me when I get to work or home, and I don't have to. One, it's safer when I'm driving, but two, I don't have to keep it in my head. If I don't have to keep it in my head, I have enough in my head. Get it down on some digital sticky note, if you will, and let it work for you to not have to remember everything.
Yeah.
So there's another way to
I love
leverage
that.
it.
And so what I'm hearing you guys say is, number one, you have to be able to identify the problem, Tim.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And this is something I think we've encouraged several times, Ryan, on this podcast, is if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're not sure exactly what to do, that is an internal red flag for you to stop what you're doing and find the time. I would say this, not find, prioritize the time to sit back and say, okay, wait a second. I'm overwhelmed. I am stressed out, feeling burnt out. There's something going on inside of me. I need to figure out what's going on. What's the pain point?
Sure.
What's going on where I'm constantly feeling anxious or overwhelmed, or even you're leading into depression because you have been anxious for so long or whatever. So identifying that problem or those pain points and make a list of it is such an important part to the journey for technology to be helpful rather than harmful. The second thing, and I think, Dean, you're highlighting these things, is identify those solutions for you, right? When you have the pain points, you can then identify the solutions and say, these solutions are going to match and going to help me so that I can find success for my personal life.
Yeah.
To add a little bit more to mine, sorry, Dean. I think we should be looking at our technology at not what can it do for me, but what should it do for me.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so
key.
it can do a lot.
Yeah.
But what should it do for me that I need to help make my life better?
Yeah. So Microsoft 2023 Work Index trends, 64% of employees say they don't have time to accomplish the things they're responsible for at work.
Yeah.
And so, leveraging something like an AI to help with those things, to alleviate and allow for the thought time or the thinking time or the planning time or the human interaction time, or to actually do the other pieces of your job that only a human can do, is helpful. But it's not just a few people we're talking, which is why I'm bringing that up. There's the majority of people in work, and I would say at home, are experiencing the overwhelmness of life and things.
Yes.
And so, identify the problem. I love that, and then allow it to help you work.
Well, and it's just easier to also think, I'm overwhelmed. Let's get rid of the technology.
Right.
It's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Sure.
Where it's like, no, make it work for you.
Yeah.
It's a tool.
I like it. Speaking of technology improving your lives, we have our event space will be ready July 24th for a workshop specific to project management.
Yep.
We are going to talk about all the things related to project management, and I am assuming AI is going to get folded into that somehow.
Absolutely, Copilot will get sprinkled in, but we will be talking about different concepts or strategies of project management, and then diving into Teams as a hub for planner and accountability and communication and files, and having Teams as the hub in project managing, whether it's your own project or you're overseeing a work project or a whole organization project.
For sure.
So Copilot will absolutely get sprinkled into that to be a time saver.
And if you have not watched our podcast on project management, go back and watch that.
Absolutely.
Great episode.
Yeah.
Great episode.
Dean and I are on a documentation project
We
together, and we use exactly what I assume you're going to be teaching.
We absolutely do.
Nice.
On that. So we're drinking our own Kool-Aid
Not just
here.
teaching it.
Yeah.
We're
Yes.
literally in our thing. It says InsITe drinks the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
It's the name of the project.
We're doing it as well.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't know this. Do they need the RSVP for this?
You need to register. You
Yep.
can
Okay.
actually go to www.trustedinsight.com/events. Look for July 24th.
You got it.
You will see the project management workshop. You can register for that free of charge, free lunch. It's a couple-hour investment, but it's
Yeah.
going to be worth your while.
And don't wait. A third of it is already filled.
Okay.
Ooh, so it's
Month
filling
out.
up, and
Yeah.
it's
Month
a
out.
month away.
Yeah, that's a month
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
Wow.
Excellent.
Little surprise.
And if you are someone learning about InsITe and what we do via this podcast, we do workshops monthly, and you're just hearing our next workshop, but go to our website, www.trustedinsight.com/events, and you can see a list of the workshops and webinars that we have scheduled already.
Yep.
Well, guys, I just want to say thank you so much for joining
Thanks for having
us
us.
today.
It was fun.
Yeah, this is great.
We just really enjoy these times and getting to know the people that work for InsITe, but also are a huge part of the team and what we do here, and not just on the professional level, but you guys have a tremendous impact on the personal level of employee here too. So we really appreciate you guys, and thanks for everything.
Yeah,
that you
thanks
do.
for having us.
Yeah.
Thank
Love
you.
it.